Forging links.
Forging links.
Forging links, one person at a time.
Good stuff. Brilliant. So what we're going to cover tonight, and we'll let people come in as and when, but we're going to be looking at with any story and any journey, it's always good to start at the beginning so that we understand what it's about. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to show a video that talks a little bit about how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency came about, some of the horror stories associated to it, which are quite funny now, but at the time, I wouldn't wanted to have been any of these people because they have an incredible tale to tell. So let me, Eldridge, nice to see you. Just going to share my screen, guys, and play you a video talking about where Bitcoin has come from and why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing. And hopefully you will enjoy. So if I can get the right screen.
The first 10 years of this century, we have had 3 major crashes. In 2000 was the dot-com crash, followed by the 2006 real estate subprime crash, and then 2008, the banking crash. The question is this next? This is the giant crash of 1929. And every time I listen to those guys on CNBC, I call it bubble vision, they keep talking about the giant crash of 1929. I tell you what, it doesn't even compare to this one coming. So that's why I write and I speak, and I'm very concerned about our futures, our well-being, and the state of the economy.
But not long ago, I wrote that the best time to prepare for a crash is before a crash. The biggest crash in world history is coming. That got a lot of news. That's the big news. The good news is the best time to get rich is during a crash. The bad news is the crash will be a long one, which is for me good news too. There's something about being old that is good. What I have is I've actually lived through history.
The S&P 500 is really the S&P 7, and it's being held up by Treasury Secretary Yellen and Powell. So there's no correlation between the economy and what Yellen and Powell are doing. I said one more thing is that I'm a little strange in that I like crashes. So this next crash is going to be really, really good, but it'll bring down gold, silver, Bitcoin stocks. But the good news is a crash is a good time to get rich. The big debate is there inflation or deflation? And if you look historically, what's happened today is the nominal debt to GDP is a correlation of M2, the volume of money, times the velocity of money. And the reason Yellen and Powell are scrambling is because they've expanded M2, so everybody thinks there's going to be inflation. But velocity of money, which is what Jim Records and I always talk about, the velocity of money is plummeting. People are not spending. So they pump all this money in, prices go up. Meanwhile, the Asians are catching up now. The ports are finally open. So it is transitory inflation. But the problem is we're stacked with this massive debt, and all it's done is bump up the stock market and real estate market. The money has not gone into the economy. That's the sad part. So the rich get richer, but the poor and middle class are getting poorer. It is tragic what's happening today. I don't know what it'll exactly be, but you can't keep printing fake money. You know, that's M2. And the velocity of money keeps dropping, but the debt keeps going up. So you and I don't have to go to Harvard to understand that's not good. This is going to be the biggest crash in world history. We have never had this much debt pumped up. Debt is the biggest problem of all, but that's called M2, money supply. And the debt to GDP ratio is out of sight. So when it comes down, which it brings everything down with it, and I want to give people the big picture. The reason I don't care for Yellen or Powell, because they're both Marxist. And when I say that, I get nailed. I will read you a quote from Lenin. Okay, this is Vladimir. He says, the establishment of a central bank, this is a direct quote, is 90% of a communizing of a nation. That's Yellen and Powell. And the other statement from Lenin is, and this is in manifesto here, the best way to destroy the capitalist system is to debauch the currency. I'd say it's desperate people doing desperate things. As you and I know, the stock market, like I said, it's not the S&P 500, it's the S&P 7. And the separation between the stock market and the economy has never been worse. I'm just disturbed because the money is staying only in the investor market. Every time the Fed does something, the Treasury does something, only guys like me get richer. But the money is not going into the real economy. They're not investing. They haven't invested for years in plant and equipment. So we have massive, massive unemployment and underemployment. And that's why I quote Lenin, the establishment of a central bank is 90% of communism. And the best way to destroy a capitalist system is to debauch the currency. That was in 1971 that Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So in this book here, I kind of woke up in 1972 as a Marine pilot flying in Vietnam. And I went behind enemy lines in Vietnam looking for gold because it was illegal in 1972 for Americans to own gold. When markets crash, it's the best time to get rich. So I'm getting very excited about a crash coming because the better stocks will come available. Unfortunately, Michelle, there would be massive social unrest. That's what I'm more concerned about, because we have not reinvested. The Fed and the Treasury have only invested in the investor class. They haven't invested in the working class. And the working class is without jobs, without pay, without this. Their 401ks are going to get toasted. And that's why I'm more saying I don't like what's happening. I've tuned in to YouTube and all the financial markets 24/7. And that's one of the best things about technology. This COVID thing really pushed up technology. And I love YouTube. I listen to some of the most smart guys on planet Earth. And I was listening to Lacey Hunt, and he's talking about deflation. Then I listen to Rickards, and he talks about deflation. And Yellen and Powell, who work for the Fed and for the Treasury, they both worked for the Fed, which again is a communist organization. He'll say so in here. Time to wake up is what I'm saying.
You know, most parents say to the kids, go to school and save money and work hard. But in 1970, when I graduated from school, $1 million at 15% interest earned me $150,000 a year. Now, you could live on $150,000 a year back then. Another thing that's happening when people's incomes go down, they become dependent. Now, the U.S. government tells us that poverty has been beaten in America. Well, maybe poverty has been beaten, but what has increased is the entitlement mentality. The attitude that the government and other people should take care of me. So anyway, the reason inflation is going to wipe out people is because the average person is a consumer. So everybody talks about, I want to, T-bone steak is this now, and gasoline's this, and toilet paper is that, and all this. But that's because Biden and company and the Fed are protecting the bankers. That's why I feel for the working class people. I think it's criminal that our school system is part of Marxism. There's no financial education in schools, and it's not a mistake. So I've been saying this since, my first book was, if you want to be rich and happy, don't go to school. This was long before Rich Dad Poor Dad. But today we can see what's happening. And people are still saying, it's because the container ships aren't being discharged in Long Beach Harbor and all that. And I went to school. I can drive those ships. I have a third mate's license to drive ships and fly planes. But anyway, it's all BS. So the people who are complaining about inflation, just know it's because the Federal Reserve Bank, the U.S. Treasury, which is Janet Yellen, who was also head of the Federal Reserve Bank, they're as corrupt as they come. They're communists. They're frickin' communists, and we worship them. This is what's sad. The Fed should have let those guys fail, but they kept them afloat. Every time they made money, it created more debt. It just created more fake money. And America got poor. The deficit kept going up because they had to have that toing and froing. Triflin's dilemma, plus Schumpeter, which is that capitalism is destructive. The whole system is based upon if a dollar comes in, they've got to lend it out. And the collateral's going bad now. So that's why he says it's going to be deflation, not inflation. But the Fed has got to keep the illusion that there's inflation.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself, guys. So any thoughts? Because I know the answers, because I've watched this stuff for ages. But anybody got any thoughts on that? Does that scare you? Does it worry you? Does it make you go, that's interesting? Or are you just not bothered?
Yeah, listening to Robert Kiyosaki there. I've seen this before, to be quite honest. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, he's even describing America, which is a capitalist society. For us here in the UK, I don't know what happens in New Zealand or Australia. It's a completely different system where people, I mean, he talked about the sense of entitlement, where people expect to be taken care of and things like that, which is a no-no in America. It's a criminal, to be quite honest. That's why Obama got into trouble with his Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever it was called at the time. So how does that transpire? How will that be taken in? I mean, what he said is a template for all governments that are corrupt in the whole world. That is the truth. Even here, printing money is just not the answer to our problems. I mean, like Paul said yesterday, there is a revolt, not even just protest now. You just needed to switch on the TV last night and see people on the streets of London, and then the rail strikes as well. It's going to get worse because the nurses and the doctors are going to come on from the NHS. The teachers are going to join in. And where will this stop? This has been going on for ages and ages and ages. You know, when does our voices get heard? I mean, where do we even? It's frustrating. That's the way I say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in answer to the question, Ruthie, is this. I'm coming down to Luton on Sunday to do a presentation in part of Boris's group. So if anybody wants to come down and listen to some motivational stuff, I'm going to be talking about, you know, if we don't learn from the lessons of history, we have a habit of repeating. And one of the things that all governments do right throughout history, and right now it's no different, is they promise us all kinds of things in order to get elected as the government, and then they just repeat what the previous government's done. They might go about it a slightly different way, but at the end of the day, they have to borrow money. What people don't recognize right now, and this is no, you know, this is no slant on anybody on this call, it's just knowledge, and the whole reason why we're doing this under Forging Links is we want you to be knowledgeable. Right now, the world is bankrupt. Now, let me ask you a question. If you earn 5,000 a month income, but you spend 7,000 a month, how long can you sustain that? Not long.
Not long.
Not long
Not
at all.
long. Well, governments have been doing that for hundreds of years. The only way governments can function is see, the governments and banks don't have any money. The only money that exists is the money that you earn when you go to work and you exchange your time for money. That's the only money that exists. Governments don't have money, banks don't have money. You earn your wages, you deposit your wages into the bank invests it out, they make money. The governments ask the Treasury to issue a bond. They send the bond to the Treasury print money. You know, you saw that machine printing money, but that's not theirs. Who's going to pay for that? Who pays for that ultimately? Us, we, taxpayers. So what the government do, and this is part of the education of what we're doing, when a government issues a bond, and we're talking now, you know, 10, 20, 30, 50 billion, in order to do services and you know, projects throughout society, schools, education, NHS, all of those things that, you know, we're entitled to, as they say, then somebody has to pay the bill. Well, we pay the bill. Yeah. So if printing money was the answer, couldn't we all be printing money? Mm-hmm. Why is it illegal for us to print money, but it's okay for the government to print money? So the reality is, Ruthie, to answer your question, is we live in a debt society now, because in order for our economies to continue, they have to print more money because there's no more money out there. You know, our wages are going down. The reason why the UK is going on strike is because we are taking at least a 9% reduction in our wages every year. You know, we get offered 1-2%, but inflation's running at 11. Well, that's a 9% decrease when I went to school. Yeah. So how can I get a pay rise of 2%, but the cost of living has rose by 11%? That means that I have less money now to buy food and pay my bills. And guess what? My bills are going up. My petrol price is going up. My lecky, my gas, the food, all going up, but my wages is going down. So how does that work? Well, these are the people who we apparently elect to do this stuff for us. So the whole education around money, and particularly you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki, you know, on our Forging Links page, you'll see the cash flow projection, which is the, you know, employed, self-employed, business and investor. Right now, and again,
the quadrant.
yeah, it's the cash flow quadrant. Now, I read that stuff 10 years ago, but it's still relevant today because our children don't get educated in investments and money. But here's the thing. Everybody on this call is an investor, because you wouldn't be on this call if you were in Hyperverse. So you're an investor, okay? You're trying to make a change so that your future is better. But if you're employed, then you are a slave. And I don't use that. I don't use that word lightly. You are a slave, because what you're doing, you're exchanging your time for income. Now, ask yourself the question, does your income help you achieve your dreams, or is it helping to create the dreams for your employer?
Your employer.
Exactly. So therefore, unless you change the direction and move towards either self-employment, which is just employment but without any security, that's not the answer in a lot of cases. Most businesses fail in the first 1 to 2 years. So that's a heavy risk, a heavy gamble. You've generally got to, I remember when I set up a business, I put 40,000 into it, and within 6 months, it went under. Because the biggest problem with trying to create a business, you might have the best dream and the best model in the world, but if you can't sell that dream and model to other people, then that business goes nowhere. If you have a product that could be the best product in the world, if people don't buy your product, you go bust. So self-employment is not always the answer. To have a business where you employ people, then you've just become the thing that you tried to get out of by working for an employer. Now you want people to come and work for you to help you achieve your dream. So that again is you know, you kind of gone out of the fat into the fire, haven't you? You know, you got out of the system of being employed, and now you've created an employment for other people to come and work for you, to give up on their dreams so that you can achieve your dreams. So that's not the answer. So the only thing that's kind of left in the bag for us is to become an investor. And what you're doing with investment is you're saying, right, I've got X amount of pounds, dollars, whatever, and I'm going to put it into something that's potentially going to give me an increase. And whether that's 2%, 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever, that's an investor. So right now you are all investors because you bought a package with Hyperverse. I'm assuming you'll be moving into HyperNation, and you may have some sidelines, some passive incomes, other businesses. That's all good. I would urge everybody to make sure that you're in a position where you go down multiple streams of income. I personally follow Richard Branson, and Richard Branson said once, why would you have one business when you can have many? It's kind of hard to run many businesses, but what's important is if you surround yourself by the right people, you know, you can have somebody manage a business while you concentrate on another business. And that's something that we will pursue in coming weeks and months as well. But the issue now is going forward with HyperNation, once we know what that looks like, and I just had a quick discussion with Jamie, and then I've asked Jamie to come on and tell the group what he's just told me, because I didn't see it. It was on the early hours this morning. And although I didn't get any sleep last night because it was too flipping hot in the UK, there was a corporate call that most of us will have probably missed. And I'll ask Jamie to just give us a little bit of feedback on that, because it looks good. It looks like it's all going forward. There's talk about it all being ready mid-July. there's also possibilities it may take a little bit longer, but at least we're going forward. So with that, Jamie, come back, Jamie.
I'm back.
And just share with the group what you shared with me just prior to the call as to what was on those slides, if you could.
Yeah, I can send the slides to you afterwards as well. I wasn't on the call. There was a call being put in Hyperverse official last night late on, and it was Singapore time, 11:30 p.m. So for us, it was 4:30 a.m. And the last time there was a call, what they planned didn't go well. And I thought, I'm not waking up at 4:30 to have somebody keep pushing it back half an hour, and then somebody come on and go, the call's been postponed. But the call went ahead, and it's looking good from the slides. Everything's been ready for a launch for middle of July. It looks like it's going to be some type of times-free membership. So the times4 is Hyperverse, but this is completely different. So the slides are showing a times-free. It's not a membership, it's a citizenship. So we don't know what that means, if you're getting daily rewards, if you're using it in the world. Nobody knows yet. The feedback what I'm getting is that there was no meat on the bones just yet. It was just like a teaser call just to say that they're doing stuff. But it does look positive. From the Telegram slides, people are excited who were on the call because at least they know what's happening, and or we're getting towards a launch of Hypernation. But what it looks like they're doing is, like they keep saying, is Hyperverse will be running the same at the moment. Hypernation will be a separate, completely different business, but we don't know what's happening with rewards, certified. Nothing's been said yet. But Sharon and Dan, I've got a call today. So hopefully we can get some feedback from that as well. So that'll help us. But yeah, middle of July, they say, official launch for Hypernation. But have you noticed all the Telegram? There's Telegram. And also as well, I sent it to the team yesterday for the Winners Network side, is in your back office of Hyperverse now, if you go onto settings, you can request a newsletter. This is a new way of communicating to the team now. So people, they have... people thinking that all these nodes are going on calls and nobody's getting the feedback. But now they've added it in the back office. So we're going to have a newsletter sent to our inbox. So people who keep saying, the company's not communicating, you need to opt in for that mail, email as well. So they're doing that. There's loads in the back office of Hyperverse being changed overnight again. But so the next 3 weeks, it's going to be good.
Thanks very much, Jamie. That's a good update.
And if anybody wants the slides or anything, what I've managed to get the screenshots, just message me. I'll send them over to you.
If you send them to me, Jamie, what we'll do, we'll post them up on Forging Links just so that keeps everybody in the loop.
Yeah, I've sent the slides to you this morning for you.
Yeah, brilliant. So I'll upload them. Yeah, and as I say, there may very well be a recording as well. So as soon as we get the recording, we'll post that. So really, that's what this channel is about. We are literally going to be a news broadcast every day. So every day that we come on Monday to Friday, we're going to either give you some educational stuff. We're going to go into the back office. We're going to give you some knowledge around currency and finance. And I know Dan and Shannon are looking at how we can reduce our bills. And I do some common law stuff where we can discharge some debts and things like that. So they're the kinds of things that this call is going to be about. So it's about education. It's about letting you know what's current, what's up to date. So what I want to do for you tomorrow is just by way of showing hands, if you could, has everybody seen the G7 video now on digital currency? Okay, so that's one. So I'm assuming that most haven't seen it. Right, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to show that tomorrow, because it's important that everybody realizes that this currency that we currently have, which is dollars, pounds, yen, whatever the currency, that is done. That's finished. It's over. It's game, shot, and match. We are not going to be using that much longer. All it's a question now is when do they decide to, without this being an alarmist, because I'm not an alarmist, I'm full of hope, is in order to change from one currency to the next, it has to collapse. And right now, the dollar, and the reason why again, going back to what you were saying before, Ruthie, the reason why everything is attached to America is because America is the dominant currency of the world.
Mm.
All the goods and services that we receive, be it from wherever in the world, it all comes via the price of the dollar. So although we might pay in British pounds or New Zealand dollars or Australian dollars, at the end of the day, it's all governed to the price of the dollar. So when that economy collapses, and it must collapse in order for this new currency to start, then we start off with almost a clean slate. So the digital currency that's coming out will be one of two options. And the G7 met last year, as they always do each year, and the British government with the hosts of the G7 last year, 2021, and they've announced through all of the wealth countries of the world that they were to instruct their banks to come up with a centralized digital currency. And that is what they're doing. So as we speak now, that system is being prepared. It'll be ready if it's not already ready. And it will be on a universal credit basis. So what will happen, and for those of you who are in Australia, your government has already pilot tested this. For some reason, Australia is the guinea pig right now. So whatever's coming out by way of a digital currency, they're testing it out in Australia. And right now, there's quite a big percentage of the population of Australia that were given a universal credit of 25,000 Australian dollars per annum, just to see how that worked. And the idea behind it is when it launches worldwide, that model will go worldwide. The UK, it'll be the same. America, it'll be the same. New Zealand, it'll be the same, and anywhere else. So what you will receive, if you're employed, then your employer will have to opt into that system. So when you get paid, you will get paid via the bank digital currency. So your employer will pay the Universal Credit Bank, and the bank will issue your wages as would be the way your employer does it right now. And you'll be happy about it, by the way, apparently. Yeah. So those of you who are unemployed, you will receive 25,000 universal credit, but you can only spend it where they want you to spend it. They'll know where you've spent it. They'll know who you spent it with. They'll know where it's gone. And more importantly, they'll take the tax out before you ever do anything with it. So they're guaranteed their money back. They control where your money is. And if you're a naughty boy or a naughty girl, you will go to jail and you won't be able to get your money out. So you have to be a good citizen. Okay. Now that universal credit system is exactly what we have. We have it. The only difference we have now is we have it in a decentralized position. So we will have our rewards as we do now. We will have the ability to invest as we do now. And we can determine our own wealth. In the other system, you can't. Because if they're going to give you 25,000 a year, and you want to earn 50,000 a year, well, guess what? They're going to take the 25,000 off you. So if all of a sudden you start investing, and let's say you get your 25,000 and you send 5,000 to, let's say, Binance, because they know that that's a digital currency platform. They know that that's decentralized. So if you send 5,000 in order to invest, then guess what? One, they might stop it, as they do often and occasionally do now. Sometimes trying to get your money out the bank is a nightmare. But if you were to use your universal credit and try to invest it, guess what? That ain't going through. they will stop it. And if it did get through, they would be challenging you. Why are you investing universal credit money when you've opted in for this system? So you won't have the choice to go into both. For those of us who are in blockchain and are in a decentralized finance, then we will have the choice to be in both. So if you're employed and you work for the NHS or the government or any other employer, then yes, you're going to have one foot in that system. But because you've got your personal wealth in DeFi, which is Hypernation or other businesses, as you know, I do gold and silver. I also have a CBD business, and I also have a debt management business over in the US. So any income that I receive from that will be in my decentralized finance position. But if I had to go back to work, I may have to go into the universal credit system. Now, that's where we're going, guys. And I want to make sure you understand that. So does anybody have any questions to that, how that might work, what that looks like? Because it is important that as a teaching tool that Forging Links are creating, we're trying to give you guys value. We want you to be educated. We want you to know how all of this works, where it's come from, what is the historical stuff, where are we today, where are we going to be tomorrow? Now, I have all those questions because I've made that my life knowledge, my quest for truth. I can tell you, I can go right back to Roman times with currency. I can go right back with empires. Right now, well, let me ask you the question. Think of the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Persian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, historical. What empire would you say was in place right now? Who's the empire now? Based on what's gone on historically. Who is the empire? Who's the current empire?
United States.
Sorry, who was that?
United States.
Absolutely, Yara, you're
American,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so right now, America has an empire. It polices the world. It has armies in most parts of the world. And the first downfall of any empire is when it builds such, in order to keep the empire an empire, it has to produce the biggest, strongest army, navy, air force in the world, because it has to control the world. That's why it's called an empire. And the biggest bill that America has right now is not the gross domestic product bill. It's not the tax bill. It's not the economy bill. It's not the food bill, the water bill, the electricity bill, the gas bill. It's the funding of its army. That is the biggest cost America has. And that is the first thing that causes the fall of any empire, because there comes a point when they can no longer pay all the bills. And right now, that's where we are in the world. So that empire has to end. Does anybody have any thoughts as to what might be the next empire?
I knew that question was coming, Paul.
No, well, we're on the same page, Gail.
And I was already
China.
Yeah, exactly. I was ahead of you there. I thought it would be China. I thought it would be Chino-Russian. And my gut feeling was the current war that we have was a tryout of how Russia will can fit into that new empire as well. So initially it was Russia, China, and Russia is trying its own best now to try out what it has, its munitions. But China is very clever, too clever for the whole.
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Too clever.
How many of you have ever played the game of Monopoly?
Of course, yeah.
Who wins in Monopoly?
The house.
The house.
The house.
The house always wins.
Yeah.
So this isn't about America. It's not about China. It's not about the UK. It's about power. And right now, the global elitists are in power. And the two nations that will be predominantly the next empire is Russia and China. Yeah. And it just so happens that they are the biggest holders of gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why Russia is fighting tooth and nail to keep hold of Ukraine because that's where the deposits are, to be quite honest, you know, that whole
Absolutely.
Dunbar
And,
area.
and
They won't
as
give
they,
that up. They will fight to finish on those.
well,
Yeah.
the thing is, what Russia's done right now is, you know, they've basically told the world, you know, you either put up or you shut up. And right now, America knows it can't go into any other war.
And guess what? Even their currency was it last month or no, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading about the strength of currencies and how they have fared in the first half of this year. And it was the rubles that was top of the list.
Yeah.
Despite all the sanctions, despite all they have done, all you know the allies have done to keep China to stop a lot of things, the rubles was still the strongest. Yeah, shocking. How did they manage that?
No, it's a game, and don't think America aren't involved in it. Don't think the UK aren't involved in it. It's all a game. It's just a game. It's an illusion. You know,
it's communism. It's communism, really, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, spot on, Yara. What it is, and this whole universal credit is just another name for communist social policy. You know, what Americans don't appreciate purely out of ignorance. And I hope there's no Americans here because I'm not here to upset you, but I just tell the truth and get on with it. But the reality is, China owns more of America than America does. China owns Disneyland. It owns California. It owns all the big, the big corporations, Comet, all the food distribution, all the clothing distribution. They own it all.
Guess what, Paul? China owns half of Africa now.
Yeah,
and I mean literally half of Africa, where you have all the gold
yes, they got all the rights to the gold and the diamonds, because South Africa or Africa itself is so rich in minerals.
Yeah, even the
country
country of birth, Nigeria, that used to be the giant of Africa, is indebted to China now.
Yeah, and guess what? And I've got good news for you, Ruthie. In relation to our business, I've now got 3 leaders, one in Kenya, or 2 in Kenya, one I'm working on in Nigeria. So I'd love to know if you've got any connections with Nigeria.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to take this business, Forging Links, into Africa. And I'll tell you for why. My goal is to raise 1 million people out of poverty. And I'm going to Africa, I'm going to India, and I'm going to Pakistan, because those 3 nations alone have more population for the potential to create wealth than any other country.
Correct.
Because America is greedy, the UK are greedy, Europe's greedy, dare I say it, Australia, New Zealand, it's all based on debt. The G7 nations are all debt-ridden societies. Those who are in poverty are outside of that. You can't go no lower than poor. There's nothing lower than poor. You're poor, you're getting on, you're wealthy, you're rich, you're globalists, you're economists, capitalists, whatever word you want to use. Right now, the biggest potential for wealth creation is in the poverty area. So I want connections with certainly with Africa. So I'd love to work with you on that, Ruthie. Anybody who's got any connections in India, Asia, anywhere, any of the islands, Papua New Guinea is a poor country, the Philippines are a poor country, Indonesia is poor. So if you've got any connections to any of those countries, then please reach out to me. We'll work together and we'll help those people. Yeah.
One question, Paul, how are you going to help, especially the poor people? How are you going to bring them into the system?
Right. Well, what we've got for those, I'm kind of giving you the heads up on what tonight's call will be. Tonight's call, 10 p.m. UK, is, do you remember when we talked about the NFTs and we were talking about Forging Links NFTs? We are going to create 8,000 NFTs, 8,888, and we were already getting orders now. What Kirsten and I are going to do is any profit that we make from people who want to commission paintings, I'll do the paintings. Anybody who wants their own personal NFT, you can buy them off us. And any profit that we make, we're going to sponsor those people in Africa, India, and any other country. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So right now, this new business opportunity that I'm looking at, which I think is going to be, it'll kind of run parallel with Hypernation. It only cost, for anybody in an African country, it only costs $100 to get in, whereas anybody else, it's $500. So what we're going to be doing, Kirsten and I, is we're going to be sponsoring people, Nigeria, all of Africa. I'm not going to single anybody else. And the same with India. I'm working with some charities in India, some in Pakistan, and we're trying to get some connections in the Philippines. So if you've got any of your team members in those countries, then direct message me, and I'll work with you to help you build your teams. So that's the role that I'm going to have in Forging Links. Kirsten is going to pretty much dominantly control what's going on with Hypernation to keep that side of things going. I will be on those calls as well, so I won't be hiding anywhere. But I'm going after my goal right now, which is to lift 1 million people out of poverty. And I'm going to use Forging Links NFTs to do that. If everybody on this call were to buy an NFT from Forging Links, and of the 8,888 that we produce, which if you imagine the number 8, what does it look like? It looks like 2 links joined together.
It's a link.
And if we link all of those 8,888 links together, do you know how much money we would raise for poverty? 2.2 million.
Wow.
Do you think we could do a lot of good with that?
Of course, yeah, definitely.
And what you got to remember, based on the principle of 10%, if 2.2 million was 10% of what it will bring in, then we can do 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, because we're going to use the compound interest principle. Whatever comes in by way of profit, we will then sponsor people, and that will bring more income in, and then we'll sponsor more people, and then that'll bring more income in, and then we'll sponsor more people. Does that answer your question, Yara?
Yes, thank you.
So what we're asking each of you to do, I guess I've pre-pitched you now, haven't I? I want you to look at purchasing your own personal NFT. So if you want that logo to represent the world, you can put your name. So Yara, you could be Yara, Ruthie, we've already had this conversation. Yeah. That birthday cake making Tina, yeah, she's already got her NFT, which is that Crypto Tina AL. Yeah, she will have that one. Grant will have maybe Grant and Caitlin. Kim will have that. Jamie and Lindsay, and sorry, who's the one? Elbridge. You know, all we're asking you to do at some point, if you want to be part of this global change, we're looking to sponsor also 3 charities. I have an orphanage that I sponsor in Uganda, which is one of the poorer countries of Africa, where there's about 64 orphanages. We want to be able to use that 2, 3, 4, 5 million profit that we make to build schools, plant trees, grow food, change the world. And it only takes a small group of people to change the world. So that's our mission, Forging Links. So if you want to be part of that, PM me, and let's get working with your people, particularly anybody in those other countries. But the thing that you can do right now is you can purchase one of these NFTs. And what we will do, we will put at least 50% of that. So right now, if you wanted that with Yara on it, just that on its own. If you want a picture in it, a special picture, then that'll cost you $300. If you just want that on its own, it'll be $150. Now, right now, you will then start to forge that link around the world. And that's what we're doing. We want to encompass the world. We want to raise people out of poverty. And I believe we have the vehicles, not one, there could be 5 or 6, because we want to really make a difference in the world. Blockchain technology, decentralized finance is now that vehicle where the people, us, you and I, and these people who are in poverty, we can forge them to our links, and we can help them to help themselves. There's an old saying, you might be familiar with this, some of you. I can give you a fish and I can feed you for the day. Or I can give you a fishing rod and I can teach you how to fish so you can feed yourself for the rest of your life. The principle is we want to teach business, we want to teach people about finance, we want to teach business people about entrepreneurship, we want to help people out of poverty start their own business. You've seen all the adverts, you know, the little child in Africa who has to walk 5 miles to fill a bottle of water up and then walk all the way back. But what has she got in her hand? Mobile phone. You don't need banks now, guys. We don't need them anymore. If you've got access to a mobile phone, you've got access to a bank now.
Yeah.
And you can be an entrepreneur. That little girl who walks that 5 miles, she can now be an entrepreneur. She can now go to her neighbors and say, I'll happily walk 5 miles for you to get your water. Will you pay me and I'll invest it in my business? And then 6 months from now, you won't have to pay me to get water. We'll dig a well in our home village or our hometown.
Pipeline.
Yeah.
Pipeline, Paul. A pipeline. You would create a pipeline. You know, you don't have to carry water anymore. You build a pipeline, extra people underneath you.
Well, that's what Forging Links want to do. So
banking,
if you want to
banking the unbankables as well.
Yeah. And do you know how many people around the world haven't got access to a bank right now?
Exactly. Yeah.
The population is 7.8 billion.
Yeah.
There are now 4.3 billion that cannot access a bank.
Yeah.
As long as they can access a mobile phone, they can now have their own bank.
Yeah.
And now with the platform that we've got with Hypernation and others, and I will emphasize, and others, when we've done our due diligence and we know what works, this particular one that we're looking at next week, I'm actually going to Dubai next week. And when we come back with all the answers and all the solutions, we will be looking to share that with anybody that wants to have it shared with. I make no apology for it. If you want to be involved and you want to help people and you want to help forge those links around the world, then we need to have that conversation. But that'll be a private conversation, and you can do one or two things: not get involved or help. If you want to change the world, guys, we'd love you to come and help us. And more importantly, by helping others, what was it that Jim Rohn said? If you help enough people to get what they want, guess what? You end up with what you.
Yeah.
So for those of you who can financially contribute, we would ask that you look at that on a serious note. If you want to commission a painting of your choice, I'll happily paint you a painting and send it to you. As a, you're going to pay for it, of course. I'm not stupid, but that will. Let me put it this way: that painting will cost you $200, but that will sponsor 4 people into a business, because we will sponsor 4 people for that. So if you want your NFT and represented through a painting that you will get delivered to your house, wherever you are in the world, that will sponsor 4 people. Okay. So if you think of it along that lines, you kind of know where we're going with this. Go on, Yara.
Well, just one question: how you intend to sponsor someone? Would you sponsor them with a full membership, or just half? And they'll have to find the other half.
Well, the principle here is the principle of, we're not going to give you a fish, we're going to give you a fishing rod. So let's say I was speaking to Ruthie. Let's say Ruthie was in Nigeria and somehow she contacted me by one way or the other. She saw me on Facebook or whatever. And she said, you know, I'd love to be able to start my online, you know, an online business. Can you help me? So I would say to Ruthie right now, well, I have a platform that you can sign up for free. You can sponsor, you can bring people into that business and you will get a commission from those people. Now we have that, and Jamie has that. Jamie Booth has that right now. So we can give that to any African state right now. This other business that we're looking at, they're going to allow anybody from Africa, and I'm assuming other nations as well, but predominantly talking about Africa right now, to come in with 100, whereas anybody else will have to pay 500. So if Ruthie said to me, do you know what, I'd love to do that, but, you know, I only earn, you know, 300 a month, so there's no way I can afford the 100. Then my next question to Ruthie would be, how much can you contribute? And if she said, well, I can come up with $20, then we would say, okay, we will sponsor you the other $80. Yeah. And then we've now just lifted somebody out of poverty, just by that one act. Now, what Ruthie goes and does is shares that with all of her community in Nigeria, and she just forges links one person at a time.
Yeah.
Goes to her family, goes to her friends, goes to her neighbors, and the same principle applies. So for those who can afford to buy the NFT and commission the painting, then for every 200 profit we make, that will probably sponsor at least 4 people. If somebody has no money, then we sponsor them into Jamie's business, where you don't have to have any money to get in there, and you can get commission. And then when they've got enough money that they can then reinvest $100 into the next business, that now gives them even more profit, more opportunity. And that's this thing about lifting people up, isn't it? We have to start at the bottom with 0 money, and then we work up. So I would work with Ruthie and say, right, have you got any family and friends in Nigeria that need help? She contacts them, says, right, I need to get you on a Zoom call with Paul and Kirsten, and then we talk that through. It might be even in, you know, I mean, I don't understand the political issues in most African countries, but even if it's a village, you know, if there's a village that's in poverty, but collectively they could all come up with $100 between us, then we can set that village up as an NFT. We can set them up as their own group. We can get them in money. We can start buying NFTs from them, giving them money. You know, let's say they had a picture of their village, for instance, you know, whatever the village in Nigeria or whatever, then we can produce 20 NFTs. And we can say to people, go in and buy an NFT, create wealth for them. Because the more NFTs you own, the more wealth you're going to have going down the line. So while you've got money sitting in the banks that's giving you 0% interest, why not invest them into NFTs? And that's where we're going with this. Once we've sold 8,888, that creates about 2 million. And that 2 million will be certainly put back into building the community around the world. So you're part of a pioneer group. You're part of something that is big. While at the moment we're only about 500 strong. You know, if you look about what the 300 Spartans created in Greece, 300 Spartans conquered half of the world. Can you imagine what we could do with 500? Imagine what we could do with 5,000. Imagine what we could do with 8,888. So if you want to be part of it, guys, that's what we are. That's who we are. That's what we're about. We're grateful that you've been here. I'm aware now that we're just coming up to the hour. Anybody have any questions? Any thoughts? Any last minute comments? No? Okay, well, with that, it is recorded. We will post this, but that's what we. So tomorrow's call, we're obviously, Kirsten, we're going to be looking at sharing. Tomorrow's about sharing. So all of your cameras on, share your stories, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you're up to. Tell us about your journey, what you want out of life, what your hopes are, your ambitions, your dreams, your goals. And let's help you
But
make
that's
it.
tonight for us, isn't it? That's tonight for us.
Yeah, that's our PM tonight. Yeah,
10 p.m. tonight. Is it
yeah.
10 p.m.?
It's 10 p.m. Yeah.
10 p.m.
Yeah.
tonight. Okay.
So brilliant. So be ready for that. Get involved in that. If anybody wants to look at this opportunity that we're looking at, I've got to be very careful now because I know the last. No, I'll tell you what. Let's leave that there. What I'll do is I'll PM you directly today. There is something that I can share with you later. So yeah, brilliant guys. Thanks for coming.
And we still have the Tech Talk tomorrow too, don't we? Tomorrow morning for us. UK.
Yeah, well, yeah, this
Tech
Tech Talk goes on every day. We've just
Okay.
covered a little bit. Does anybody have anything particular that they kind of don't understand and they might want covering? Because I don't want this to be about what I think.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a particular topic that you think, you know what, I don't quite understand this or I don't quite understand that, that's what the tech thing's about. We want to cover that.
Yeah.
I
was going to suggest that as well, Paul. But you did mention earlier on, one of the things I was going to suggest is that everybody keeps talking about all the opportunities out there in the back office and how people can utilize them and to their own benefits. And some of us are just not savvy enough to know what these opportunities are. Thank God I was able to speak to Jamie last week, which moved me, you know, it moved the needle a bit for me, which is fantastic. But I reckon I'm not the only person in that kind of situation. So
no, absolutely.
So I'm thinking that the training on the back office will be, I know they do tech training all the time, but it's always, you know, very, I don't know, technical, that but we may want it broken down in little bit for us. So that's my request.
No, I think the key is, and for those of you who were on the Grant Park Crypto Couch Talk yesterday, you know, that was specifically what we're talking about, because that NFT thing has been in the back office since October. and we're only really talking about it now, but it's been there for, you know, people are saying the company aren't communicating. Well, they are. It's just that we're too busy not to even go in and have a look in our own back office. So that's why Kirsten and I have decided through Forging Links that we are actually going to start going into the back office, pull up videos, pull up training. So what we might do tomorrow, Ruthie, is we'll go in the back office, the articles, and we'll pull up some of the articles and let you see what all that's about. And NFT is the big one right now, because you know, NFTs is the future. If you really want to create wealth, you buy coins, you hold on to them, you don't sell them. That's the first one. The second one is you get involved in NFTs. Now you can go, now listen guys, you can go in and do this all on your own. You don't need to pay me any money. You can go and do it yourself. But human nature tells me, and again, don't mean to offend anybody, but we're bloody bone idle. We would sooner pay people to do stuff than we would rather go in and do it ourselves. So we're going to provide the vehicle where if you don't want to go in yourself and have to learn all that stuff, because there's a lot of stuff in there, you know, if you don't want to do that and you want to just be part of Forging Links, then we'll have you in our group, and we'll do all the hard work for you.
There's one thing I'd say to people, is I always tell this to my guys, is always go into your Hyperverse back office and have a play with the tabs and the buttons, because you can't do anything wrong. You have to put a transaction code to buy anything. So if you go on to Hyperverse, have a play around with it and see what DeFi is. It'll say a description what it is. And it'll say under startup. And then when the message comes up when you log in the morning, have a read of that, because 9 out of 10 people don't read that when it pops up in your, you know what I mean? It'll keep popping up every time you log in. But just play around with the tabs, go across them and stuff. And then what'll happen is eventually, you know, I surprise myself sometimes because I don't even have to look at the Hyperverse back office and I know which buttons to press. And it's like, how the hell have I learned that? But That's the way to do it, is just play around with it. You can't do any mistakes. He'll tell you what it is. Like Paul just said, go into the academy, read the daily topics, because there's that many, saying about the markets. It tells you how even if you're not a trader, you can see straight away by reading a quick article that the markets are terrible. This is happening, that's happening. And that's my advice to people is the technical training on a Saturday is good, but it goes too fast for some people.
Yeah.
If you play around with it yourself, you can't do mistakes on the back office.
Listen, just from a human psychology point of view, it used to be that the average brain could actually pay attention to something for about 20 minutes. It's actually now being re-advised, and it's actually only 2 now. So once you've listened or watched or read something for 2 minutes, your brain is already saying, I've had enough of this, let's get out of here. So even a 10-minute video or a 5-minute video or a 20-minute video for most people is too much. And that's why I only kind of showed, 8 to 10 minutes, because I know even 8 to 10 minutes is pushing it. So if you were to add up all the articles, all the videos and all the information that's in the back office, it's probably somewhere in about 1,000 hours.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Paul, each of them videos are between 2 to 3 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
So all you need to do is do so many a time, build them up, like we were doing on the Mellow Yellow calls. And like we said before, many times before, what they've said, what's happening now is in the back office in October last year, December. There's a story about it, about NFTs, how to build a complete, I think it was the 5th of October, how to create an NFT. It shows you step by step, all in what we all our members are.
But here's the thing, because of human nature in that we are lazy, people, even though you can do it for free, people would sooner pay somebody to do it. So what we're saying in Forging Links, because we kind of know that most people won't want to do it, won't want to go and spend 20, 30, 40, 50 hours learning this stuff, we are doing it. And what we're going to say to you is, look, you pay us for doing it, and we'll help other people. So by you buying an NFT from Forging Links, you're actually going to sponsor somebody into a business, and you're going to lift somebody out of poverty. Now, for most people, that's probably a better option anyway, because otherwise you've got to go and spend 30, 40 hours in the back office, learning how to do it yourself. And it can be done. And if you feel that that's a better option for you, then go and do it. But something tells me you won't, because you're too busy.
Are you going to send us the link how to buy NFTs from Forging Links?
Yeah, well, basically all it is, right now we're putting 888 available. So we're going to talk about it tonight. So what you do, you secure your NFT for $150. So I'll use you as the example. So if you want to secure your NFT, which will say Yara on it, or a word of your choice, or a picture of your choice. If you want a picture in it, then it's $300. If you want to do a painting as well, it's $500. So you've got 1 of 3 payments, or you can have all of them. I actually had a conversation with somebody this morning who actually wants to buy 10 because she's picked a theme, a topic, and she's got money in the bank that's earning nothing, and she's going to commission 10. So she's going to invest about $2,500. But that is going to sponsor 10 people. So do you see where we're going with this? So when I have that conversation with Ruthie, probably this week, and we make that connection with Nigeria, we're going to look at seeing what we can do to help, several people in a position of poverty. Mm. Yeah. So the easy answer is, if you've got any of those amounts of money, 150, 300 or 500, and you want to be part of this, remember, we're also going to be sponsoring 3 charities. I've got one, which is an orphanage in Uganda. We're looking at, if anybody's green, if anybody wants to save the planet, planting trees, cleaning up rivers, maybe even buying a well, sponsoring a well in a village somewhere in Africa. Now, from what I can make out, I think a well costs about 2,500. So we can actually get in contact with a company that drills wells. So we can actually sponsor a well in somewhere in an African village. That's kind of where we're going with this stuff, yeah. So as we build up and we bring profits in, it's not to make Paul rich. I've already got more than I need, but I do need an income. I do have bills to pay like everybody else. Once we get back into the reward situation, everything could be good, and that'll just be more profit to help raise people out of poverty. All right, guys. So yeah, so what I'll do, if you want to be involved in that, direct message me and I will send you all the appropriate information. And yeah, there are 888 up for grabs. If you want a personal one, if you just want a generic one, if you like butterflies and you just want one that says Forging Links with a butterfly in the background, or a dog or a cat or a dinosaur or a, I don't know, whatever, a famous quote that you love, you like quotes, you know, poems, we can put that into an NFT and we can do basically whatever you want. All right. So I'm looking at Tina's one in particular, you know, that piece of art around Tina's head. No, it's not a halo. You know, don't worry, it's not a halo. And I can, in fact, actually, I can actually see the cream cake on top of your head right now, ready to be splattered all over you. But that is an NFT. Yeah. Now, if I put Forging Links that says Tina on it, she's now got an asset that if somebody wanted to buy it.
I've actually put a photo in the Forging Links of the one.
Yeah, I've seen it. So yeah, so what we can do now, we can produce that. It needs a little bit of work on it because the proportions are a little bit out, but we'll work with that information and that picture. But that will be Tina's NFT, you know, and then we'll work with Tina, and she owns that. That's now an asset. You know, who knows, that could be worth 2, 3, 5,000 in a couple of years, because somebody might look at that and say, I want that. There are two principles that guide people in life. One is greed and the other is envy. We're either selfish and greedy or we're envious and we want it. When people see what we have, they will want it. And if you've got something that they want, they will pay for it. Don't know why the hell people would pay 80,000 for the face of a monkey. I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. But trust me, there are crazy people.
I can't get my head around it. It's just
there are enough crazy people in this world who will want it because they haven't got it.
Yeah.
So Tina, just give me the heads up, girl. Somebody is coming after those dolphins. And the thing is, the other thing that controls our brain is that we all have a price. We might not think we do, but we all have a price. Now, Tina might say, well, I'm not giving up my dolphins for anything less than 50,000. Guess what, Tina? There's somebody out there crazy enough to give you 50,000, girl. And when that price gets reached, you're going to go, oh, I'm going to lose my dolphins. Yeah. But you're going to be 50,000, the more profitable. And then you're going to have to go and buy yourself another bloody NFT, aren't you, with something different. But that's the world we're going in, guys. We're going digital. We're going to, that is the new world. That's the new economy. Crazy as it is.
Wealth transfer, Paul.
Sorry?
Wealth transfer. This is wealth
Absolutely.
transfer. So it's coming big.
Absolutely, 100% it's coming. Yeah. And we're pioneers. We're gonna create that transfer. You know, but by bringing other people who haven't got access to banking. You know, can you imagine me going to Africa now in front of 5,000-10,000 people and saying here's an opportunity to get out of poverty?
Yeah.
And I'm now in a position where I can do that.
Wow.
So I'm going to work with you, Ruthie, and I'm going to get
Okay.
connected to Nigeria. And guess what, girl? You're coming with me.
Yep. Not now, not now though. It's very, very
Oh, no,
insecure now.
give us
Not
a couple of months. Give us a couple of months to get some paintings done, will you?
No, yeah, I know.
All right, guys, took enough of your time.
All right,
I could talk,
okay.
I could
Thank you.
talk all day, but I won't.
Thanks.
But thanks for being here. Love you, loads. Take care. God bless.
Thank you,
Bye.
Paul.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See you
May
later.
your God,
Bye.
may your God
Bye.
go with you. Take care. Love you, loads.
Love you.
Bye.
Forging links.
Forging links.
Forging links, one person at a time.